Hello and welcome back one last time for the Reddit League show, Season 6, the grand final. It's been, I guess, 14 weeks now, 19 or 20 if we include the preseason in it as well, but it's been a while, and Reddit League Season 6, sorry, is over now, and I'm sure you're all waiting to see the results, but before we do that, we'll welcome Zotomo. Hello, how are you doing?
Mm. Hi, how are you, Calamity? I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I haven't been able to join you for these shows this season, but I did manage to make it for the grand finals, so happy to be here.
Yeah, nice to have you here. Yes. So, our final, as you all hopefully know, was Berry Fishy Bear against Bustel, both newcomers to Division 1, obviously, as such, newcomers to the playoffs and to the final. So, they chose Intersection Guesser Arizona, the standard GeoGuessr Andorra map, and then we have the AI generated world map as our end decider, so to speak, if it comes down to it, as we told you last week. And we'll start with the results from Arizona. I guess it was kind of the seed you could have expected, considering Arizona with three locations in the Phoenix metropolitan area, kind of Phoenix, Mesa. Let me actually check. I think none of the rounds were actually in the Phoenix city center.
I think the first round was actually in Phoenix.
Yeah, it's hard to tell on the map
Yeah,
whether that's Glendale or Phoenix. It could be Phoenix. Um,
yeah.
but the other two rounds were in Scottsdale and Mesa, respectively. Beyond that, we had round two in kind of Riviera or Bullhead City on the border to Nevada, which proved not too much of a problem either. And then round three in Tucson, again, not too much trouble there. But the round that it all came down to in the end was round four in Mesa, Sotomo.
Yeah, it was a bit of a tricky one because they had, I mean, obviously it's a, American suburb, and so you've got the road names, no problem. Both of them were looking in relatively the right area, but what threw them off was the fact that was it like South 25th Street?
It was 24.
24th Street, sorry. Actually is in two different places. Because obviously I guess Mesa has its own numbers separate from a slightly further east in it was it Tempe or something in
Uh,
Phoenix.
yeah, it's kind of
Um,
south of the center of Phoenix.
Yeah, and so that's really what threw Bechtel off, unfortunately, and actually almost caught Barry off as well. He managed to catch a sign for Mesa with, I think it was like 20 seconds left, and he just had to rush to re-pinpoint again. Yeah, so they basically sat on the wrong location. Names didn't match up, POIs didn't match up. They were going crazy, and a small sign saved Barry in the last second, and that's just kind of it's a huge point gap, but really it came down to a few seconds and Barry seeing a sign and Bechtel didn't. So
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Absolutely. And timing wise, it was actually interesting as well because, of course, there is no draws really. So if it comes down to both of them having a 25K, then it comes down to time as a tiebreaker. And Barry overall was 2 minutes slower than, Bastel was 2 minutes slower than Barry. But if he'd seen a sign for Mesas just somewhere in that round four round, I'm gonna assume that he might have been quick enough to potentially make up those 2 minutes because they were on a numbered road, so shouldn't be too difficult to find if you look in the right place initially. That could have potentially come down to a very very close game on time as well if Barry had been Bastel. They both start with B. It's difficult. Um,
Yeah.
if Bastel had been more lucky with finding some better signs, I suppose, in that one round.
Mhm. Yeah, and it was Barry's map pick, so we would kind of expect him to be faster overall. But yeah, one round throwing them for a loop would definitely give a chance if Bechtel just happened to see a sign quicker that he could have made up a lot of that time difference. Yeah, I think Barry, yeah, 6 minutes 17, Bechtel 8 minutes 17. So yeah, about exactly a 2 minute gap that easily could have been made up because Barry took every second on. They both took every second on that fourth round.
Yep.
And yeah, so not a big thing. But yeah, I mean, this is what you should expect, especially from an intersection map in Arizona. You're going to be in Phoenix probably at least 70%, 80% of the time, maybe Tucson for a little bit outside of that, and then a few other roads.
Yep.
And mostly going to be cities and suburbs because guess where all the intersections are. So
Yeah.
if you want to see more of the state, more interesting parts of the state, don't play an intersection map.
Yep.
Just play the
True.
regular Arizona map or something. That's what's it called? Like is it polygon map? Right?
Uh, I think there's certain US
Is there an
maps. I
official?
know. I don't
Hmm,
actually. I don't think there is an official map. I know like
for
Simi has a
Arizona.
bunch of US state maps. I know who else? What is he called? Guy who was in Reddit League at some point. What was his name?
That'd be funny if that was his actual name. Guy who was in Red League at some point
uh,
makes a map for Arizona.
Either way, he's also made
Mm,
a bunch of US state maps. Let me actually see if
yeah,
I can find a name
I think
somewhere, but
I think
I probably can't.
I think Corrado also has some state maps, doesn't he?
Potentially.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Either
But yeah,
way,
so just
you'll
anyways, just
yeah,
try one of those out. I'm sure that that'll give you a better idea of what the rest of the state might look like. And you don't have to see Phoenix for a bunch of times in a row. So
absolutely.
yeah.
So yeah, that was our first map. So the second map was Andorra, chosen by Bastel, and that one, was even closer.
Oh
Where
man, that was a heck of a game.
Yeah, four of the rounds didn't really make much of a difference. Bastel overall just slightly quicker on all of them, I think, except for the last one. But round one in pretty much central Andorra la Vella, no trouble for either of them. Round two in a town that neither of us will attempt to pronounce, kind of in the western part of Andorra. That again, Bastel found it very quickly. Barry struggling a bit more, again losing like a minute per round, but still not even coming close to the 3 minutes. Then round three, kind of just east of Encamp. Not too difficult to pinpoint either, and still a fairly windy road, but obviously that makes pinpointing relatively easy if those curves
Mm.
don't all look the same, which in this case they didn't. Round five at the end was also a pretty easy to pinpoint location, so neither of them struggled there. And that leaves us with round four, which I guess ended quite
Again. Yeah.
spectacularly, right?
Yeah, round four seemed to have been the kind of magic number for this grand final. We had round four was the tricky one in Arizona, and again here in Andorra. And we were at a ski resort, and both of them, I think, maybe within 30 seconds, were in the right location. Um, and then it was this absolute horror show of trying to pinpoint on a wide road with no close by points of interest, no intersections. And it came down to a number smaller than GeoGuessr gives us because they were both 26 meters away, but Bechtel lost one more point
Yep.
compared. So he got 4,971, while Barry got 4,972. And given how fast the drop off is in this small country, they must have been centimeters apart for where they actually put their pin and how it registered on the back end of GeoGuessr,
Mm,
to only be separated by 1 point.
yeah.
Barry, it is worth mentioning, Barry did guess faster. I think he was trying to make up a little bit of time after the other rounds. Bechtel did use all of his time. So if that would have been a draw, you know, with that, we could have been looking again at a case where time was the difference maker. But really unfortunate for Bechtel that the smallest little numbers in the back end of the point calculation means he loses the grand final by a point
Yep.
in Andorra, his own map pick, which and I think you mentioned that the pin was on a river in quotes,
Yep.
and there was some sort of water control features, drainage ditch or something that you could have spotted, but neither of them did.
Yep.
And that's pretty much what cost Bechtel his chance at a Reddit League title.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, with how we've been talking about it, you probably could have guessed that in the third map, that we'll come to now. Bastel did actually win against Barry, because otherwise he wouldn't have lost it there. He would have lost it all around.
Mhm.
But yeah, he made it 2-1 there in a very interesting seed, actually, that gave us two locations in
Yeah.
Montenegro. That both of them weren't super difficult to get. They actually both couldn't pinpoint round one, interestingly enough,
Mhm.
which is a little bit surprising because I thought it wasn't the most difficult, kind of in the southern part of Montenegro. And yeah, round three was much more central and close to some bigger intersections of two yellow roads.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
think round 3 at the spawn, you could see a sign for, Podgorica, so it was like, "Oh, okay."
yeah.
Very very obvious where we were, in that one.
Yeah. Then the other rounds in that series. So after that one, obviously, I said both of them couldn't pinpoint round one. What that actually meant was Barry dropped 28 points and Bastel only dropped 3. And by the end score, those 28 points of Barry already would have been enough to lose that map, as Bastel proceeded to only drop another 8 points after that. But to talk about the other rounds, round two was in Indonesia, kind of in the central part of Java, in the city of Klaten. Indonesian cities always very rough to pinpoint exactly. You actually did have a couple of mentions of like the particular suburb, I suppose. I don't think I've ever called them suburbs in Indonesia, but I guess it is what they are. Um,
Mhm.
and Bastel again getting a bit closer there, just 600 meters away, and Barry dropping another 54 points, 19 kilometers. So again, not particularly close there. Round three, I mentioned in Montenegro again. Round four was in Brazil, I think, if I remember correctly, because my map is not loading at all at the moment.
Yeah, it
So
was Brazil, way in the west, part of the state.
uh,
Yeah, what state was it exactly again? Yeah,
uh,
Rodinia,
Rondonia,
way
yeah.
Rondonia, sorry. Yeah, in the west of Brazil. I mean, it was pretty obvious, sort of. I mean, it's in the farming part of the country, that very flat red earth, so you kind of already knew you were in kind of Mato Grosso or Rodinia or somewhere out there. And then you just had to travel a little bit, I think, to pick up some roads. So
Yeah,
wasn't too bad, but it did throw Barry for a bit of a loop. He did drop a few points on that one.
yeah, I
So
don't
I think
know.
he just threw down a pin because he wasn't even on the road. So
Yeah, I'm not sure quite what happened to him there, because they did
Mhm,
start in like a city. It wasn't
mhm,
easy to figure out exactly the name of the city that they started in.
mhm,
Easy to figure out the general area though. But yeah, that was
mhm.
another 41 points dropped for Barry there, which left us with one more round at the end, which happened to be just west of Bari in Italy on the coast. Again, not an easy round to pinpoint, actually. Very confusing with the way those intersections worked and everything. So we did see another 6 points drop there from Bastel, but in the end, of course, inconsequential. Barry did manage to 5K that one at least, so nice end for him as well. But that did make it 2-1. But in the end, our winner is Barry, and yeah, congratulations to him for winning his first Reddit League title.
Yeah, I mentioned it in our cast, but he has worked his way all the way up from Division 4. I had to play him, I think, one season. He was in my half of Division 4, and he pretty much swept the floor with everybody, easily earning promotion. But yeah, he's just been climbing the ranks, and it's just great to see him. Really, a homegrown player, so to speak, from Reddit League, has been there pretty much from the start. What was he in season 1?
No,
He was in season.
he was in season three. He started in season three. He's been
Okay,
promoted every
yeah.
single season. Also, he was in the opposite Division Four than you, so you actually haven't played him.
What
um,
am I? Oh, I'm probably thinking of Formula G where I played him so many times or
Possibly,
something.
yes.
But yeah, I know I've gone up against him several times, and it's like always it was always obvious to me that he should not be in Division 4. And I was like, yeah, just give him some time and he'll sort himself out. And I guess that means he's going to be Reddit League champion. So that's as
Yeah,
high as he can go. So
it
not
does.
bad at all.
It does. So yeah, that was Reddit League Season 6. And with that, we'll, I guess, talk a little bit about, Reddit League Season 7, which is going to come up eventually. It's not yet fully decided on when exactly signups will start. I'm currently thinking about possibly March. So the break shouldn't be too long.
April
Obviously,
preseason.
yeah, kind of
Yeah.
maybe actually preseason already starting in the end of March or something like that. Because yeah, I mean, you obviously want a bit of a break for the regular players, but they'll have all of the sign up period, all of the preseason anyway to kind of take their deserved break. So probably beginning of March will be when the sign up will start, I think, at the moment. I'll have another look at the dates exactly of how they, coincide, how it all works out, I guess. But yeah, so you can expect it to be around then. And for potential changes, I don't think there will be much. I think we've pretty much found a good spot at the moment in regards to most of the rule sets. Two
Mhm.
things that I'd like to mention that will potentially happen. What will definitely happen is I'd like to try out a new mapping method during the preseason so that we could potentially use that on occasion during the regular season as well. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, there were not really much in the way of complaints, but a lot of people weren't too fond of some of the very unpinpointable maps this season throughout.
Yeah,
So
this was one of our lowest perfect scorer seasons I think we've had
yeah,
in a while.
there weren't
So,
many. Um,
yeah.
so we'd like to see if there's maybe some way to balance it out a bit more.
Mm.
Probably mostly going to be happening with country specific maps. So I think I'll see how it goes in preseason, but you can probably expect there to be, I guess, two maps like that in the regular season. It'll depend a bit on the countries that I happen to pick. But yeah, just to make it a little bit nicer, I guess, for the players to play. That it won't necessarily make the locations themselves easier. It might still be very difficult to find information, but just if someone does happen to find the exact place, that they don't like drop points just because there was no way to actually know where exactly on the long straight road the location was. Um,
Mm.
the other change that is quite likely is um, in some way, shape, or form to have mandatory recordings in there. And that will not mean that everyone has to record every map because that's just logistically a nightmare. And yeah, I don't even want to think about how to handle people not being able to record, not kind of just going on holiday, being away, and having to play on a laptop, whatever. So there won't be mandatory recordings for every single game, but what will be mandatory is to record any sort of playoff games that you could potentially be in. That means the semifinals and the finals for Division 1. That means all of the promotion and relegation playoffs. Um,
Mm.
to ensure that people will actually be able to do that, I think the way I decided to do it is that it'll be mandatory to record one game during the regular season of the player's choice. This is not necessarily, I mean, obviously the whole playoff recording is to combat potential cheating, I suppose.
Mm.
But the one game during the regular season is not for that. It's just so that people prove to me that they will be able to record the game should they happen to end up in the playoffs. The consequence of that will be if you fail to send me a recording of at least one of your maps during the regular season, you'll be not eligible to play in the playoffs. And you better have a good reason for why you couldn't send me a recording from any of your games, because obviously that looks a bit suspicious.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of ways to record your games. You don't have to have like crisp, clear quality 1080p or even 4K OBS recordings. Literally, if you can just pull up your phone and film your screen for the duration of one game, that'll be fine. So I think anyone should be able to do that in some way,
Yeah.
shape, or form.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so
yeah,
yeah,
go
I
on.
think what the worry has always been was like it's not broadcast quality, like no one's going to be able to watch this or understand, or it won't look good on YouTube. But I think the point of this is we don't really need it to go on YouTube. We just need to know that you're not looking at extra stuff. You're not cheating.
Yeah.
There's some kind of you're playing as intended. Especially when it comes to promotion and championship titles, we want those to be as clean as possible. So yeah,
Yeah.
your phone, capturing your video, you're playing with your right hand, your left hand is holding the camera to the screen is fine. So
Yeah.
yeah, no worries.
Yeah, and I definitely think that should be doable for everyone. And yeah, oftentimes just it's kind of to weed out the really obvious cheaters, I guess, in a sense.
Mm.
So oftentimes, just that will be enough to tell. Okay, at least he knows what he's doing. It's almost impossible to really catch a cheater who's very good at cheating because they'll just like do the slightest things that give them the slightest advantage. But yeah, we'll try our best with it as well, of course. But kind of it's the really obvious ones that we want to catch and make sure they're
Mm.
not here, basically. So yeah, that will be the second change, and I think that will mostly be all of it. Smaller factors, for example, like I made a survey basically during the regular season where I asked people about general opinions, of course, more specifically about the two topics I mentioned earlier. But like otherwise, just small things. Like for example, someone mentioned that they would like to have a break during if a leg happens to be during Christmas, which I
Mm.
thought was reasonable. So if another season happens to go kind of across Christmas, then we'll make sure that we kind of put a week break in there, because obviously I kind of always just, I guess, when I made those schedules, assumed, all right, well, obviously they'll have 2-3 days where they probably don't want to play GeoGuess, so that's fine. I mean, a week is, a leg is a week long. But what I
Mm.
didn't account for is people kind of, maybe visiting family for multiple weeks or something like that, where they might not really have the opportunity to play. So we'll take that into account in the future. And I think that will be all. So, yeah, I guess thank you everyone for watching and following this season of the Reddit League. And yeah, we hope you enjoyed it.
If you haven't already played before, like definitely consider signing up. There's also the Reddit League Next competition, which is a great way to get in some practice and see how you stack up against the players. And if you are more want to take it more seriously and try to actually get into Reddit League, we welcome new players. We always have lots of new ones, and they always do pretty well. Like we had a lot of newcomers fit into the divisions quite well. So we're always excited to see new players. So yeah, don't be scared off by, oh man, it's on YouTube and oh they do these casts. No, just join the community, have fun, play, and we hope to see you next season.
Yeah, so until then, bye.
Bye.